Blazer fans, welcome back to episode number 64 of the Blazer Victory Podcast. This is John Duncan, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Steve Irvine. And Steve, we got another game this week. This Friday afternoon game is the Texas El Paso Miners come into Protective Stadium. And somehow, buddy, we still got to get over that game last week.
Yeah. You got to turn that page. It's it's a hard page to turn. There's a lot of glue or something on that page to keeping it stuck. But you got to get past that and find a way to to end this regular season on a high note and send some. I think they're saying there's going to be 20 seniors. Send them out. It'll be interesting to see who the seniors are. Because with the thing that happened, with the COVID last year and getting that free season, there's a lot of guys listed as seniors that they're really have an option of another year. And so it'll be interesting to see what those guys, I really believe that, anybody that's honored on Saturday is going to be moving on for sure. I don't think, I just think it's kind of going to be like that.
And on Friday too, not Saturday.
Friday. Yeah, I'm sorry, Friday, and boy, I'm losing. Yeah, but on Friday, and so I think that that'll be kind of interesting. But I think you also you can't let that game give you two losses, and even three with the bowl game if if it lingers.
Right.
You got to let it. You got to move on, and that's just part of this game. It's not easy. I've been in a funk all week, excuse me, when I'm thinking of the game, I've been in a funk and, they have, because, it was a tough one, but, you can't, you got to move forward. And I think they will. I think, they're competitors and, you got to be a competitor and, we'll see. I know when the season, before we even kick the season off, you look at the schedule and kind of analyze it and thinking about it. And, I thought all along this game was going to be a tough game coming off, the three games before, and no matter what the record was, I thought it was going to be a tough game just emotionally to get ready for. I didn't know at the time that this is also a really good team you're playing. At the time I thought, well, it's just UTEP and, right. Yeah, they got some players, but they're not gonna be great, and they're not gonna be very good, and it's just be tough to get up for. But now, not only you have to find a way to get up for this game, you got to play a good team. So that adds to sort of the issue, I guess, and so we'll see. We'll see. I think we'll see quick whether they have an interest and I think they will, but it's certainly not guaranteed until you see it.
Yeah, no doubt. And guys, kickoff is going to be at 1:00 p.m. Central Time Friday afternoon. Hopefully, everybody, if you can, make it out to Protective Stadium. And in fact, right now, I know the UAB ticket office is running a special for $12 tickets. So just go to uabsports.com to get a ticket for this Friday and just help honor those seniors, that have done so much for this UAB football program. So definitely, hope that we can get the W, for them to send them out the right way. And of course, we still got the bowl game to look forward to as well. But just looking at this UTEP, 2021 Miners football team, like Steve just said, they're 7-4, 4-3 in Conference USA. This is not your typical UTEP team that we see every year. Normally they're coming in here with just maybe 1 or 2 wins in the season. But, Dana Dimmel, you've got to give him a lot of credit for the work he's done this year with this team. And in just a few minutes, I'll roll my interview that I had with Adrian Broaddus, who does a great job covering UTEP. Definitely give him a follow at Twitter at Adrian Broaddus, but he hosts Miner Talk and is also on 600 ESPN El Paso. But this is a good team, and so I hope UAB is able to put what happened in San Antonio last Saturday to rest. Steve, I can't lie, man. It's really been bugging me all week as well. I did go back and rewatch the ESPN Plus broadcast, and I also went back and listened to the radio broadcast. on top of just on social media seeing, because, I've got, a lot of respect for UTSA, which I know you do as well, Steve. And we see, their fans are happy, and they're resharing highlight videos and everything. It's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to get over it. And, if we're both, having a hard time get over it, I can't imagine how the players are right now. To get up on a short week to play this game Friday afternoon, I just hope that they're able to, like you said, turn the page and send those seniors out on a high note.
Yeah. And I do think that, again, they're competitors, and, when it's, when they have a chance to play, they're going to play, and I think they'll do that. The thing about that game last week, it's never going to go away. I mean, it'll be, you get over it and you move on. I mean, I think that, for the most part, everybody, they've moved on, but, you really never kind of wonder what if, or forget about what if, and, what if this would happen? What if I'd have done this? What if I'd have knocked the ball down instead of tipped it? Just stuff that, just little things, that turn into big things. You just know that there's decisions made by everybody in that game, players, coaches, trainers. I mean, everybody. There's decisions made that you've got to analyze. And whether it be internally or internally within yourself or internally within the program. You've got to analyze some things, and they have, and they'll continue to do that. And, it's just, but, again, we got to move past that, and they got to move past that. Fans have to move past that. Really need a great, a better atmosphere out there than we've had in some of the games here. And I mean, you just look at the atmosphere that we just came from, and the players see that, and see that and think that, boy, that was a special atmosphere. And part of it's the building. I mean, it is. But the main part of it is the people that were in the building, and they made a difference in that game. And it's, UAB needs to get where Protective is that kind of difference. Now it's not going to hold the noise like a dome does, but you get, if you get a lot of people out there and you make some noise, and you can make a difference. And so that's got to, that needs to happen moving forward. And, for right now, I mean, I'd love to see, as many people come out on Friday, and let Friday be the focus, and not let it be the focus that, that you're not playing for a championship and you lost that game. And that's hard. When you publicly, like Coach Clark says over and over, I mean, they play to win a championship, and that's what they break on, their huddles on champions, and, that type of thing. It's hard when that's mathematically eliminated. It is hard to move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like, man, that was our first goal, our main goal.
Yeah.
But, these guys have a lot of pride too. So, and it's a good football team. That's the other thing. UAB's got a good football team. And so if they go out and play like to their capability and play with passion and care, then they'll be able to win this game on Friday. And I think they will. I really do think they will.
Yeah. And well, let's talk about this UTEP team. The offense really revolves around that quarterback, Gavin Hardison, who I think, has one of the strongest arms in the conference, and maybe honestly one of the strongest arms that UAB has played this year. But also the good thing is that sometimes he makes bad decisions. You look at his stats. He's got 16 TDs to 11 interceptions. So if you can force him into some bad reads, put some pressure on him, he has shown that he can make some bad decisions. Now, granted, he's also thrown for over 2,700 yards this season. So that'll be something to, watch for. And, in my interview with Adrian, we kind of talk about Gavin Hardison and the year he's having this year compared to last year. And, UAB didn't get to play UTEP last year. That was one of the cancellations that we had in the 2020 season. But, yeah, Hardison, I mean, very talented, really strong arm, but can be forced into some bad reads. Now, the guy that he's going to be 99.9% throwing the ball to is going to be Jacob Cowling. And this guy, I mean, he's going to play in the NFL in a couple of years. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But if you can somehow put pressure on Hardison and maybe just keep a couple bodies on Cowing, I like UAB's chances this Friday.
Yeah, now putting pressure hasn't been easy though. I mean, I think they've only given up 15 sacks this year, and that's not a lot, and it's not just scheme type thing, get the ball out quick and that type of thing. They like to go down the field some too, and so they're going to have to UAB's going to certainly have to impose himself, their will on and beat them up front to to get pressure on them, and now we talk about Hardison real quick is they didn't see him last year, but they did see him the year before. When he was a true freshman at Legion Field in 2019, that was a game that Mike Loxley got hurt early or fairly early,
right.
And they brought him in, and he wasn't even on a depth chart. I mean, nobody even knew who he was, and the UAB folks definitely didn't play. I mean, coaching staff, they had to scramble to figure out who the guy was. And he threw for 220 yards against him in a touchdown. And you could see his arm strength back then. That was one thing that was just kind of slapped you in the face a little bit, man. He had some arm strength, and that was 2 years ago. So they have seen him. Now they hadn't seen this version of him because he's now he's experienced and knows what he's doing, and then he just kind of came in and slinging the ball around. So they have seen him a little bit, but Cowing's dynamic. That's going to be important to figure out a way to minimize what he does to you. You're not going to shut him down.
No.
But if you can minimize it and keep him from making a big play, keep him in front of you and that type of thing. I think it's going to be huge. But they also they have an okay running game. I mean, they have Ronald Awatt. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's rushed for almost 800 yards. So they can move the ball a little bit both ways. But I think the first thing to stop would be Cowing and or Hardison and Cowing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. And you look at just last week, UTEP played Rice last week, and I mean, Hardison had a career day. I mean, he threw 23 or 35 for 366 yards and a couple touchdowns. And of those 23 receptions, 11 of them was Jacob Cowing, 11 receptions for 170 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, it sounds real simple, but you have to stop Cowing, or at least limit Cowing. Don't let him get going, and don't let him, because if he makes that first guy miss, I mean, he's pretty much guaranteed to get 20, 30 yards on that reception. And that's going to be the key. It's just UAB is going to have to, tackle well and just line up, correctly on him and just make sure to just limit him if we can.
Yeah, and I also think it's important to make sure that Hardison doesn't get comfortable. I mean, just get after him. Do what you can to make him uncomfortable, and just hopefully force him into some mistakes. But even if not the mistakes, just the fact that he can't just sit back there and pick things out. He's got to do things in a hurry, and and that type of thing. And so I think that's going to be important. And UAB, against most teams this year, really probably everybody, but Georgia has really been able to get pressure up front. Now, like the Liberty game, for example, they got pressure, they just didn't make the plays.
Right.
So they, if they've been able to, for the most part, pressure people. It hadn't always showed up in sacks, but I think it showed up. And so, they need to do that. They need to make him as uncomfortable as possible, and let those guys up front really, have to work and have to get the job done.
And looking at the defensive side of the ball for the Miners, I mean, this is a pretty physical, defensive front, again, that UAB faces this week with UTEP. They're only giving up about 126 yards on the ground per game. And, I mean, that's something that hopefully we can get McBride going again, and he can have another straight week of, eclipsing that 100-yard mark, and maybe hopefully get him 20-plus carries again and just let him take us on out of the
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, this team, I think this UTEP, I like this defense. I think they're solid, but they're not as good against the run as UTSA was. I mean,
Right.
coming in certainly, and UAB had no problem running the ball. Had over 200 yards rushing, and obviously Dwayne McBride had a big day, so need to do that again. And part of doing that is for Dylan to have another solid day like he had. And opening things up. Kind of past open up the run sometimes. And I think that's what's been going on to me the last 3 weeks. I think the last 3 weeks UAB's offense has been really good. Even against Marshall, they didn't score a lot of points, but they had a very good day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because they've been able to do both, and have been able to be solid on both running and throwing the ball. So they need to do that again. Friday. Saturday they don't have to. Saturday they get the rest, but
Right.
Friday they need to do that. So we'll see. I mean, it's there's a lot of questions about what's going to happen on Friday in my mind, and it starts with how UAB shows up. Like we said, it starts with how the fans show up. Starts with it starts with the ability to get past, at least for now, last week. And I do like this. I do like that UAB is a veteran guy, the veteran group. They've been around. They've seen a lot. There's not a whole lot of young kids playing on UAB. Getting playing time for UAB. So I like that. I mean, I like that. They've been there. They've been around. They know what it takes, and now they just got to go execute it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that first quarter Friday is going to tell a lot about, I think, how this game is going to go. And hopefully UAB is able to, honestly, if I'm Clark, I'm just, if I win the coin toss, just give me the ball, go ahead and set that tone on offense, score, and put UTEP away early. Because if you keep this UTEP team in this game, things might not bode well for UAB in the end. But I definitely think that this first quarter is going to be huge to decide what happens in this game Friday afternoon. But guys, as I just mentioned earlier, definitely try to win this game for those seniors, that have done so much for this program. But also, hey, my birthday's on Friday, so I would love nothing more than to get a birthday present. Yeah, man, I'm getting old, but hey, would love nothing more than to get a win, a Blazer win, to help celebrate my birthday. So,
dude, you don't know what old is, man.
Dude, I'm turning 30, man. Don't they say it's all downhill after that?
Well, yeah, I'm double your age, so it's really all downhill. But no, 30's not bad. 30's not bad. You're still young.
There you go.
Still young.
There you
just
go.
Wait till you're a little older and try to get up every morning, and your back says no, and your legs say no, and your knees say no. But happy early birthday to you, and let's get you a good birthday present on Friday.
Let's go. And guys, hey, we definitely want to wish all of our, all the Blazer fans and all of the listeners of the Blazer Victory podcast a happy and safe Thanksgiving. I hope everybody that's traveling, safe travels, eat a lot of good food, spend some time with friends and family. And, we'll see you guys at Protective Stadium Friday, hopefully, to cheer on a Blazer victory and end this regular season on a high note. But guys, Steve and I will be back hopefully Saturday morning to give you guys a recap about what happens against UTEP in that ball game. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and roll my interview that I had with Adrian. Go Blazers. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory podcast, where I am pleased to be joined by Adrian Broaddus. Adrian, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me back on the podcast. How's everything going with you guys?
It's great, man. Hey, and congrats on getting engaged. That's pretty awesome, man.
Hey, I really appreciate that, man. Thanks so much. We only get a chance to talk to each other once in a while, and that's a shame, unfortunately. But we both have our own things that we do, and we're busy on our own ends. But it's great to talk to you today, and really appreciate the kind words.
Definitely, man. And guys, if you are not following Adrian on Twitter, definitely give him a follow at Adrian Broaddus. That's Broaddus. He does a great job hosting Minor Talk and you can catch that on 600 ESPN El Paso. And Adrian, before we get started, man, I actually listened to the last Minor Talk y'all had after the Rice game, and man, I was like, it's all going to be positive because, I mean, it's a double-digit win, for UTEP over Rice. But some of the stuff, I was like, oh, my goodness.
I know, man. It's crazy, John. And I'll set the scene for you here in El Paso. It's we may have talked about this before, so if any of this is repetitive to your listeners, I apologize on that. But UTEP is in the midst of the 4th year of Dana Dimel's 5-year deal. And throughout these 3 years before this season, most of the fan response has been negative. Let's just call it what it is. And most of the fan base wanted to see improvement. They wanted to see a better brand of football, as they thought. And despite this team, flash forward all the way to now, despite this team winning 7 games, the fan base still has things to complain about. They're still not sold on giving an extension to Dana Dimel. And I think it makes for a really interesting finish to this season because UTEP, before that win against Rice, they were on a 3-game losing streak, and things were not going great for the Miners after they had, gotten bowl eligibility for the first time since 2014. But now, I mean, to be honest with you, doing this, now 3rd season of Minor Talk, I'm not surprised to see the fan base still be a little skeptical about this team. Unfortunately for Coach Dana Dimel, who's done a formidable job of trying to revitalize this program. Unfortunately for him, he still hasn't won the fan base completely back.
Yeah, well, I'll be completely honest with you, Adrian. I love Minor Talk, but I'm kind of glad that we don't do anything similar after that UTSA game because Lord knows what we might have heard after that game Saturday night, man. So I definitely kudos to you guys, for doing that week in and week out. But I guess while we're talking about the UTSA game, I really don't want to talk about it a whole lot, but it was very interesting to see, the video that you shared on your Twitter account talking with Dana Dimel at his presser about the UTSA and UAB game. Can you talk a little bit about him? And I think he was just, trying to say that, the parity in Conference USA, but I'll let you explain that further.
Yeah, so Dana Dimel, of course, the UTEP game is going on same time. UTSA is trying to mount the comeback, and so of course Dana Dimel's not watching it live. He's watching it after the fact, so he's just probably watching more of UAB than anything else. I mean, let's be honest. Right. He's probably trying to look at the Blazers more than anything. And one of his biggest takeaways is he wasn't surprised at all. He wasn't surprised that UAB stayed in that game, that they could have won in that game, and he feels like even though UTSA is undefeated right now, he feels like they're still a beatable team, and that it just kind of shows that Conference USA is it has that kind of parity, and that on any given Saturday a team could beat one another. So I think that was his biggest point. But beyond that, one of the biggest takeaways I got today from Dana Dimel talking about this game is there have been people here in El Paso thinking, well, is this a hangover game for the Blazers? What do the Blazers really have to gain from winning on Friday against the Miners? And Dana Dimel quickly dispelled all those notions right there. He said, no, that everybody wants to win in this conference, that you see really good teams week after week. So he dispelled those early storylines around this game. I would be curious, and I'll flip it to you. I'd be curious to see if that would be the case for this week. A little bit of a hangover following an emotional loss against UTSA.
Oh, no doubt, Adrian. And that's, honestly what I'm kind of worried about come this Friday. I mean, Blazer fans listening, I mean, this isn't your average UTEP team, from the past few years. This is a really darn good UTEP minor team coming in and looking to, get the W in protective and try to clinch that second place in the West Division. And UAB, coming off of that heartbreaking loss in San Antonio to UTSA. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I hope that UAB will be, ready to play. But, I mean, it's really easier said than done, man. Had the game won against the top team in the league and just the crazy finish. And unfortunately, just things didn't go our way. It was just UTSA's night. But, Blazer fans listening now, too, like, when you hear comments from Dana Dimel talking about the parity, I mean, he's kind of right. I mean, you look at UAB lost to Rice, just a few weeks ago, and Rice is turning out, looking to be like one of the worst teams in the West Division. It's just, it goes right back to what you just said, Adrian, that if you're not on your A game, any team in this league can beat anybody. And I mean, heck, even going back a couple weeks for San Antonio, UTSA having a close one with Southern Miss, who we all thought was the worst team in the West, but I mean they go to Ruston and beat Louisiana Tech by double digits. So it's so. I definitely do agree with Dana Dimel and his comments in regards to the parity in Conference USA. But let's talk about this 2021 UTEP team, Adrian. I spoke with you before the season started, I believe in week 0 on my other podcast. And we talked about, Gavin Hardison and about how obviously, he has the probably one of the biggest arms in the country, to be honest. But how he's, just struggled in past years with just making bad reads and turning the ball over. This year, 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. It seems to be a little better, almost 3,000 yards. But what's the read on Hardison? I mean, obviously he's coming off of a career day against Rice, but what have you seen this year out of Hardison that would you agree with me that he's made some progressions to?
Yeah, I would definitely think that he's made the progressions this year, and I think that that's what he needed to do. He's done up to this point, John, everything he's needed to do in order to, really instill himself as a quarterback in this conference. And that might be the most plain answer that you might get from me for Gavin Hardison. But to be honest with you, there's still a lot that we don't know with Gavin Hardison. I feel like we still don't know what his full skill set could be when it comes to, throwing the ball for 40 times a game for multiple consecutive week after week. That's what I want to see moving forward. And that goes to the play calling. I wonder how much of the play calling has really impacted Gavin Hardison's play this year. In some games, he's throwing 30 passes and completing maybe 17 of those 30 passes. And the next game, he might only attempt 25. And now they've gotten to the point where they have to, they've been forced by it because their run game has just simply not come along like most people thought it would. They are forced to throw first to open up the run game second. And with Gavin Hardison, things like decision making, his time, the timing of his release, those are the things that might need to improve moving forward. I have no doubt in my mind, at least as of now, late November, that Gavin Hardison will be the starting quarterback next year. But yeah. I also wonder if there's a part of Dana Dimel that would love to have a more dual threat type of quarterback that he could throw in the system, simply because that's what Dana Dimel likes to do. And with Hardison, he just doesn't run the ball enough.
Yeah, and honestly too, going back to the last episode of Minor Talk, which guys, you can check out on Apple Podcasts, just like you listen to us, and I believe they're on Spotify as well. But one of the criticisms that somebody had on Minor Talk was the play calling was just so predictable. And do you think that maybe Dana Dimel comes in with a different mindset this Friday, or do you think it's honestly just going to be the same predictable, run first and just the same predictable offense that he's had all year?
Yeah, I think every week, John, we're waiting for him to, quote unquote, open up the offense or open up some kind of play calling. And it just doesn't happen. I mean, this team is going to do what they've done from day one, and that is pass the ball, run the ball, try to be balanced. What you will see a lot of is UTEP forcing the ball to Jacob Cowing. And when I mean forcing, I mean they're going to run design plays for him. Some plays might even look like pick plays, like they were called for in this game with a offensive pass interference against Rice. You might see those kind of things right there from UTEP. And on the other side, UTEP knows that they are going to get a very physical game from the UAB secondary, just because that's the film. That the film has shown, when defenses are way more physical with a standout wide receiver like Jacob Cowing, you've got to jam him right at the line of scrimmage. You've got to not be afraid to be as physical as possible. And if there's some laundry on the field because of it, you'll live with that. You just don't want Jacob Cowing to explode on you for over 150 receiving yards. That's the key to this game. Jacob Cowing, and to see how he can get going. UTEP's run game has been absent from weeks, week after week, all the way back. I mean, you could look all the way back to the New Mexico State game to start off the season. That's probably the last time UTEP's run the ball efficiently against another Division I opponent. So, I'm really looking at this UTEP offense to pretty much be the same as we've seen before, just favor the passing game a little bit more.
Yeah, and really quickly hitting on that run game, Adrian, I did see where, they had a good bit of rushing yards against Rice, but when you put on the film, it is a little deceiving though, because I believe Await, am I pronouncing that correctly? Await.
Oh, Awat.
Awat, sorry, Awat.
No, all good.
He broke off a couple of long runs, and that really just took up the chunk of the rushing yards, at least in the Rice game. This past week. But would you say, is that the struggling to run the ball, is that just on the offensive line, or what do you attribute that to?
I would say two things. One is offensive line just not being as physical as they could be. And I think the coaching staff would just echo exactly what I said there. And then the number two off that one, it's a little bit of the play calling. It's the predictability, the fact that this opponents know that UTEP loves to run the ball on first downs. When they're in a third and short situation and they bring out a different quarterback, most opponents know, hey, that's their wildcat option. I mean, that's their wildcat offense. They never throw on this play or this, this kind of scheme. They never kind of throw on those downs. So that's where I would kind of really side with, with this run game is, it's a little bit of the problems up front. It's a little bit of the problems with the play calling. And then you also have to talk about some of the injuries. I mean, Quadrace Wadley dealt with injuries all season long, and he's barely being thrown back in the mix. Deion Hankins has dealt with a shoulder injury, former all-conference freshman Deion Hankins, and he's been pretty much sidelined or hasn't really played in many games this year. That's really hurt the Miners because they love to use Deion Hankins as a red zone threat, and they're unable to do so this year. So a lot of different things have really hurt the running back group, which was really, I mean, you look on the running back group on paper, at least, John, before the season starts, that's one of the best running back stables in Conference USA, just based on the versatility that they brought to the table.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Now going real quickly back to Cowing, for UAB fans, you need to know that name, Jacob Cowing, an elite wide receiver. As Adrian just mentioned, 150 reception yards per game. Pretty much. I mean, this guy already has over 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns. And I just looked just to clarify, and he is only a sophomore. I swear that he was a junior or a senior. So he'll probably be back at least another year.
He's going to be back, John. And the word around the team, and I'll be honest with you, because I was skeptical. Going into last week, I was thinking on a 3-game losing streak, maybe, on the fringe to making a bowl game, what kind of guys are going to enter the transfer portal and take advantage of the one-time transfer rule that we heard the NCAA pass this past summer? So how many guys are going to actually take advantage of this? And word around the team is, this team is together. This team loves each other. This team wants to stay with each other and at least run it back for one more year. So I don't expect many of the playmakers like wide receiver Jacob Cowing to leave this program. And I mean, 13 career 100-yard games for Jacob Cowing as a sophomore. I love that right there.
Yeah, it's weird, because UAB didn't get to play UTEP last year. That was just one of those teams, in North Texas as well, that we didn't get to face off last year. So we didn't get to see Cowing. We didn't get to see Hardison. But I guess who's another player? I guess Justin Garrett pops off too. He had a really good game against Rice. But was there somebody else maybe on the offensive side of the ball that, other than those those guys that we mentioned earlier, that UAB fans might need to keep an eye out for this Friday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm really happy that you mentioned Justin Garrett, because what he does is he puts a big target on his back and everybody keys on him, which creates opportunities for UTEP's third wide receiver in Tyron Smith. Now, Tyron Smith had a really nice game against Rice. He shows up in spurts during games. He makes great catches. He's a small wide receiver, even smaller than Jacob Cowing, like a 5'10", 5'11" wideout, and they like to throw him in the slot. They like to run him deep. They like to have him run these vertical patterns, and I like the way that they're able to open up their offense with Tyron Smith involved in the game. Now, it's about consistency with Tyron Smith, because some games he'll give you 7 catches and go for over 75 receiving yards, but other games he'll be quiet. He might not even end the game with the reception. So it's about consistency with Tyron Smith and seeing if he could take it on the road.
Well, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, Adrian, for this 2021 Miners team, it looks like, obviously Hayward, Breon Hayward is the leading tackler with 51 tackles. But give us a couple guys for UAB fans to keep their eye on. I know heading into the season, I can't, I'm really bad at pronunciation, but it's Praise Emuwuli, or I'll let you say it, but I knew him.
Almost there. You're close, John. You're close.
Amawele.
Amahuli.
There you go.
It's Amehule. It's Amehule.
Amehule. There you go.
And Praise Amehule is probably one of those standouts that you're looking at. But, he's had a little bit more of a quiet year. I'm looking at guys like defensive end Adrian Taylor out of Kilgore College. He could be a standout for UTEP in this game. He was somebody who nearly had an interception, was in and really pressured the quarterback in a big way against Rice. He actually had 3.5 sacks against a team like La Tech, which was huge for this team. And then I look at other members. You mentioned Breon Hayward, leading tackler. I don't think I've seen a better pure tackler from UTEP's linebacking group since Aaron Jones, who plays for the Green Bay Packers, since his brother, Alvin Jones, was a linebacker for the Miners and led their team in total tackles his senior year. So I haven't seen a better pure tackler since Alvin Jones that I'm seeing right now from Breon Hayward. And then I love their safety, Davion Inyang. He's a hard-hitting guy. He was out the past several weeks. It really showed because teams like Florida Atlantic, teams like North Texas, and of course UTSA, they were able to throw all over the Miners, and Davion Inyang not being back there, in the secondary for UTEP really hurt them. He's been an outstanding secondary member.
Definitely look forward to watching him play, and hopefully not performing too well this Friday. But I guess, Adrian, what do you foresee happening this Friday? Because it does seem that UTEP, like you mentioned earlier, they had a 3-game losing streak, but they were able to bounce back, get rid of that, and beat Rice by double digits. So it seems that they have some confidence coming into Birmingham this Friday afternoon. But I guess you don't have to give a score prediction if you don't want to. But what kind of do you foresee happening this Friday in Protective?
Yeah, I think it might be close at first, John. I think UAB might struggle out of the gates early on, but I think the Blazers ultimately win. UAB always beats UTEP. I mean, the last time the Miners lost in this series, I think it came all the way back in the Mike Price era when UTEP actually won at that point. But I don't know. The streak is not good for UTEP's favor. UTEP's lost 5 in a row against the Blazers. They just never win in this game. That's just the bottom line. They don't fare well against UAB. They're just simply way too tough for them. And I think UTEP has the defense to make this one close. I'm just not sure if the offense could give it a whole, in another week and bring it another week where they can, click on all cylinders. I still think UTEP plays them well and keeps it close. I don't think they get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I think, something to watch for too is just really honestly how that first quarter goes. If UTEP's able to, maybe jump up early, kind of what Rice did, a few weeks ago against UAB. If they're able to jump up 14-0 or 17-0, I mean, put UAB in a big hole quick. I mean, that's got to give the Miners a lot of confidence this Friday in Protective. But I hope that doesn't happen. But I definitely do agree with you that I do see this being a very tight, contested game. And I think it'll be a very low-scoring game, too. Being Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock Central Time, shaking off the Thanksgiving dinner from the night before and just last game of the season. I think it'll be very low scoring and tight. But definitely look forward to seeing what happens this Friday afternoon. Adrian, thank you so much for coming on the Blazer Victory podcast to talk UTEP with us. We greatly appreciate you. And Blazer fans, keep an eye out for a Miner Talk that'll drop later. Are y'all? Do you know if y'all are going to do it Friday night or?
We will do it Friday. We'll do it after the game. We will also we'll talk a little bit about it leading to the game when we talk some hoops this week as well. So yeah, most definitely, John.
Yes, busy time with basketball and football as you know it. But thanks again, Adrian. Always a pleasure. And Steve and I will be back probably Saturday morning to give you guys a recap about what happens in the UTEP UAB game, and maybe we'll hopefully maybe know where we're going to go bowling, maybe not. But hey, UTEP's going bowling for the first time in 2014, so you guys get to have that discussion as well, Adrian. So kudos to Dana Dimel and that team. Hey, 7 wins. I know you said earlier that some fans are complaining about it, but hey, taking that next step and getting bowl eligible is a huge step for Dana Dimel in his 4th year.
John, it's November. In El Paso, we don't talk about football in November. I can't believe we're talking about UTEP possibly going to a bowl game. They're going to a bowl game. They clinched it. They got 7 wins. So, yeah, this is unfamiliar territory for everybody out here in El Paso. John, you do a great job. Thank you so much again.
Thanks, Adrian. And guys, we'll be back Saturday. Go Blazers.